From gritty dramas to spellbinding fantasies, British cinema has most certainly left its mark on the world stage. The UK isn't just the birthplace of so many incredible actors that have graced our screens since the dawn of cinema, but it's also the home to iconic studios where blockbuster franchises like Star Wars and James Bond came to life. And yeah, Harry Potter too.
What the hell was that?
In this video, we're diving into 5 British films that you need to see. Each one a brilliant example of the UK's lasting impact on global film. So let's get into it. In no particular order, here are 5 British films that you need to watch. In at number 5 is a Shane Meadows thriller about an ex-soldier who returns to his hometown to confront a gang of thugs who previously brutalised his brother. And that film is Dead Man's Shoes. I'd argue that there are few British films that hit as hard as Dead Man's Shoes. Released in 2004, this is a raw, haunting tale of revenge set against the bleak backdrop of rural England, not too far from where I currently live in actual fact. At its core is a powerhouse performance from Paddy Considine, who co-wrote the film and plays Richard, a former soldier returning home to confront the gang that tormented his younger brother. This isn't your typical revenge thriller. It's layered with themes of trauma, guilt, and mental health, giving it a psychological depth that lingers long after the credits roll. Richard's descent into violence isn't glamorized. It's unsettling, and that's exactly the point. Richard is unhinged, going face to face with a real horrible villain in Sonny. Stylistically, Dead Man's Shoes often feels like a western. Yeah, you know how I like my westerns. Slow burning tension, moral ambiguity, and a lone figure riding into town to deliver justice. But instead of dusty saloons, it's run-down pubs and derelict housing estates. The result is a unique British spin on a classic narrative. Meadows has cited Get Carter, another legendary British film, as a major influence, and you can feel that connection. A hardened man returning to avenge a family wrong, navigating a gritty criminal underworld. But Dead Man's Shoes brings a modern emotional intensity that sets it apart, in my humble opinion anyway. Shane Meadows does attempt to lull the viewer into a kind of false sense of security with wide-angled shots of picturesque landscapes and a comforting soundtrack before moving into a run-down former mining town located in England's Midlands, where people scrape a living and resort to crime to make ends meet. It almost feels a bit like a documentary in the way that it's shot, staying close to the principal cast with a twist that I never saw coming in my first viewing. It's brutal, intimate, and unforgettable. And if you haven't seen it, this is one British film that you really do need to watch. At number 4 is a film by Chris Morris that is one of the most daring British comedies ever made. And that film is Four Lions. This film is bold, dark, and outrageously funny.
I'll show that.
Fuck many baby bells.
It tackles an incredibly controversial subject, homegrown terrorism, but instead of approaching it with a heavy hand, it uses sharp satire to expose the absurdity of what the main characters are attempting to achieve, and somehow it works brilliantly. This is a tricky, even dangerous topic for a comedy to take on, but what makes Four Lions so effective is that it doesn't make light of the subject matter itself. It targets the stupidity, the contradictions, and the misplaced zeal of the people behind it. It's a film that holds a mirror up to these actions, letting the ridiculousness speak for itself. Set in a northern English city, Sheffield, the film is grounded in a gritty realism. It's superbly shot and beautifully acted, with every character playing it completely straight, which only makes the comedy hit harder. The cast, including Riz Ahmed and Kayvan Novak, deliver pitch-perfect performances. That was a bit of a mouthful. Who are more clownish than cunning, but still painfully human. It's a razor-sharp blend of satire and tragedy, and by the end, you'll find yourself laughing, cringing, and thinking, often all at once. Four Lions is not just a great British comedy, it's one of the most boldest films of its time, and absolutely a British film that you really do need to watch.
Rubberding it up with.
Our number 3 pick is a British film that is highly underrated and pretty much forgotten about these days. A comedy about 2 hapless London gangsters who go into hiding from their gangster boss in a nunnery. And that film is Nuns on the Run. This 1990 film stars Eric Idle and Robbie Coltrane as two small-time London gangsters looking for a way out of the criminal life. When they double-cross their boss during a heist gone wrong, they go on the run, but where do they hide? In a nunnery, of course, dressed as nuns. Yeah, it's completely ridiculous, and that's exactly the point. The film leans hard into its farcical premise, with Idle and Coltrane delivering brilliantly straight-faced performances as two guys dressed as nuns, trying to dodge both mobsters and nuns whilst keeping their cover intact. Full of slapstick mistaken identity gags and clever one-liners, all wrapped in a very British sense of humour.
Spectacles, testicles, wallet and watch.
What makes Nuns on the Run stand out beyond its absurd plot is the chemistry between its two leads. Idle brings his signature dry wit, and Coltrane adds a grounded, almost tender layer to the madness. Together they elevate what could have been a throwaway comedy into something genuinely charming and surprisingly rewatchable. I mean, it may not have the cult status of other British comedies, but Nuns on the Run, I think, deserves a second look. It's an underrated classic from a time when comedies weren't afraid to be completely bonkers. And do you know what? I think it's all the better for it. This is most certainly a British film, well worth your time.
You shot Louis, you arsehole.
Oh, shit.
In at number 2 is another British gangster comedy, this time by Guy Ritchie. A film where multiple storylines are interwoven and tied together by the end, and that is 2000's Snatch. If the brilliant Lock, Stock and Two Smoking Barrels put Guy Ritchie on the map, then Snatch cemented his place as one of the UK's most distinctive directors. Snatch takes everything that worked in Lock, Stock with the razor-sharp dialogue and fast-paced editing, the chaotic criminal underworld, and cranks it up to 11. The plot centres around one thing, a stolen diamond. From that single object, the film spins out multiple intertwining storylines involving small-time boxing promoters, ruthless and wannabe gangsters, dodgy jewellery thieves, a dog that will pretty much eat anything, and one barely understandable Irish gypsy boxer. And somehow, it ties it all together in the end like clockwork. The cast is phenomenal. Jason Statham leads with that cool streetwise charm, still his best film to date in my opinion, because it's not the same kind of character that Statham seems to portray in pretty much everything he's in these days. Stephen Graham, who plays Statham's right-hand man, and Vinnie Jones, the hitman for hire, deliver brilliantly funny, gritty and unforgettable performances. Alan Ford is terrifyingly funny as crime boss Bricktop, who has some of the most memorable lines that I can think of.
I don't care if it's Muhammad, Imad, Bruce Lee. You can't change fighters.
Benicio del Toro is brilliant as the unlucky thief who is too sure of himself with a major gambling problem. Dennis Farina as New York gangster who doesn't want to visit British beaches. I mean, that's a bit harsh because some of them are really nice. Robbie Gee and Lenny Jones as the out-of-their-depth wannabe gangster pawnbrokers. And of course, Brad Pitt absolutely still scenes as Mickey, the bare-knuckle gypsy boxer with a thick accent and an unpredictable punch. Visually, Snatch is a masterclass in style. Ritchie's use of rapid-fire cuts, jumpy transitions and slick camera work keeps the energy high throughout. The dialogue is fast, witty and endlessly quotable. It's the kind of film where you can catch a new joke or reference every time you re-watch it. It's often compared to the work of Quentin Tarantino, and to be honest, that is no insult. Like Tarantino, Ritchie mixes violence with humour, clever storytelling with larger-than-life characters, and Snatch pulls it off with flair. This is British gangster cinema at its most stylish and entertaining. And if you haven't seen it, then you are seriously missing out. And this is most certainly a British film that you really do need to watch or re-watch.
In the quiet words of the Virgin Mary, come again.
Few films hit as hard or leave such a lasting impression as our number 1 pick, and we choose Trainspotting. Released in 1996 and directed by Danny Boyle, this gritty, stylish and brutally honest portrayal of heroin addiction in Edinburgh became an instant classic. Based on the novel by Irving Walsh, Trainspotting doesn't just tell a story, it pulls you into a world, a mindset and a generation. The plot follows Mark Renton, played by a young Ewan McGregor, in a breakout performance as he navigates life in a spiral of addiction alongside a group of equally troubled friends. There's Spud, played by Ewan Bremner, Sick Boy, played by Johnny Lee Miller, and the terrifying but funny Begbie, brought to life with violent brilliance by Robert Carlyle. The chemistry between this cast is electric, capturing the highs, the horror, and the hopelessness of addiction with raw intensity and moments of shocking humour. Danny Boyle's direction is incredible. It's kinetic, bold, and full of visual flair. Whether it's Renton diving down the worst toilet in Scotland, or that iconic scene from him running through the streets of Edinburgh to Iggy Pop's Lust for Life, every moment feels stylish without losing its grit. And that leads perfectly into one of the most unforgettable elements, the soundtrack. It features songs from Iggy Pop, Underworld, Lou Reed and Blur. The Trainspotting soundtrack in itself is legendary. It didn't just complement the film, it kind of defined it. These tracks captured the chaos and the energy of youth, addiction and rebellion, becoming almost as iconic as the movie itself. And what makes Trainspotting so special is its balance. It never glorifies drug use, but it doesn't preach either. It shows addiction for what it is, seductive destruction and deeply human. It's raw and often hard to watch, but it's also filled with sharp wit and unforgettable style. Culturally, Trainspotting was a phenomenon. It put British cinema on the international stage in a whole new way. Edgy, modern and unapologetic. It inspired countless filmmakers and helped launch the careers of its cast. Its impact on not just British but global cinema cannot be overstated. The term masterpiece does get a bit overused at times, but I do think that term is very much relevant here. Nearly 30 years later, Trainspotting still feels relevant. It still feels alive. I definitely think it's one of the most important British films ever made, and if you've somehow missed it, fix that immediately. Choose life. Choose Trainspotting. And that's our list. Which British films would you recommend? Please feel free to let us know in the comments. And if you haven't already done so, please like, share and subscribe. It would help out the channel massively, and we would be your friends forever. Anyway, I've been Colin from the Critical Cinema Club, and a huge thank you for watching. Until next time, take care.